Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am super excited to be playing with the Bibi Cameron's Snowflake collection that she designed for Spellbinders. There's some really cool dies, stencils, hot foil plates, and I believe even stamps in this collection, and I'm going to show you the things I'm playing with. So this is the large pop-up snowflake die set. You can see it's a very large central snowflake there, and it has like perforated lines and like little holes in it, and that's so you can create a pop-out in the center, but we're going to use it for lots of different things. Then next we have this stencil set that creates a snowflake ornament. It's a layering stencil set, and it has decorative details, bows, a little hanger, very fun. And then we have a glimmer hot foil set that has snowflakes that you can die cut out, as well as the sentiment Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So I'm going to use all these things plus a label die set. You'll see that later on as we continue through the video. So first thing I want to do is create a stencil. So I'm taking a 6x6 piece of paper and die cutting out that largest snowflake from the center of this. And then I have this, kind of stencil piece that I can use, and then I have the snowflake itself. So to stencil this, I'm putting it over another 6x6 piece of paper, and I'm using Distress Mica spray stains in Winterberry and Peppermint Stick. So I kind of wanted this ombre look. So I'm spraying that, and I had to clear a little clog on my peppermint stick, and it kind of got really dark, so I decided to do a little bit more splatter with the Winterberry, and ooh, my word, I love how it turned out. So now I have this stenciled piece, which is so cool. Even though I got a little spray like under the stencil, it really looks like a melty, beautiful snowflake. And then I have the cover I can use as well, plus the piece that I die cut out. So now I have three things for the price of one, really, right? So I'm going to spray that snowflake as well, and I'm going to make 3 cards using these pieces, and actually ended up turning into 4 cards. So here's those other snowflake, the smaller snowflake pieces. You're going to want to die cut 2 of these to create the pop-up mechanism. So I decided to go ahead and cut those and spray them while I had all the stuff out. And it is a really pretty snowflake. It has like so much detail, and it makes a really full and kind of a fluffy snowflake when you do the pop-up. So here's all the things I'm going to use to create my 3 cards. I love them. They're so pretty. I love pink and red for Christmas. So let's jump into card number 1, which I'm using the piece that was the stencil. It is so gorgeous, and I'm going to turn it into a shaker card. So I am covering this with a window sheet, and you can see I put lots of glue there. I'm going to gently lay that piece of acetate down or window sheet before pressing down on it so no glue squishes into my window. And then I laid a heavy block on that, came back to it after a few minutes. And now I'm going to create the accent pieces. So there's this little tiny snowflake in the same die set. You can die cut it out by itself. You can die cut it out with this circular piece that creates the top layer for the pop-up, but it also kind of looks like a little tag or a little ornament. So I think you can use this piece multiple ways, which I always love options. All right, this is the other piece that you can put in the center of your snowflake pop-up to create the 3rd layer, but I'm going to snip off that little tab and use it for the front of my card today. Now I am creating my own custom mix for my shaker. So I pulled out stuff from my stash, some things that are fairly flat and shiny in the red and the pink colors, and I have so much fun doing this. So I just take a little spoon, stir it up in my little tiny tray, and see what I need more of. Now this card is 6x6, so it's a pretty big shaker, so I can get away with having lots of stuff in there. One of my favorite things to add are these micro beads in clear. They just help things really move around nicely. They sound really cool, and so I really had fun making this mix. Next thing for a shaker card you want to do is add foam tape all the way around so the edges touch, so none of your shaker bits can escape. Now mine was really big, so I put a little extra foam tape in the corners that just kind of helps limit the space that my shaker bits have to roll around in. I added some powder there so there was no sticky edges on the edge of my foam tape, and then poured in my specialized shaker mix. And now it's time to remove the backing on all this. Now this is the world's best foam tape from Pear Blossom Press. The backing is very easy to remove, and it's also repositionable for like up to 30 minutes, and then it becomes permanent. It's very cool. So there is my shaker. Let's add those extra things. So here's that red snowflake that I die cut from the glitter paper, and then my sentiment, I'm giving it a little curl with a crease tool, and that is so it just has a little flow to it, and I'm going to tuck that right under that red snowflake, so it's just popping out from the center of the snowflake, and I'm just adding glue to the two ends so it has that curve in the middle. Next, I'm adding some Ruby Radiance rhinestones. That's fun to say. They have an iridescent finish on the top, and I thought they went really well with the mica spray and how it's got that shine to it. So there is the card front. Now this is a 6x6 piece, so I'm going to add this to a 6x6 card base. So you're going to need 12x12 paper in order to make that card base. You know, cut it in half, score it in half, you've got a card base. And I think these are just fun. Like, there's no way to say Merry Christmas than with a nice big Christmas card, right? Okay, so then on the inside, I decided I need a little something, and I happened to spot this red and white washi tape in my stash and decided I would just add a strip on the inside. It's like the perfect added touch for this card. So there is card number 1. So much fun. You know I love shakers, and if you love shakers, you should check out my Facebook group called Shaker Card Addicts. It's linked for you in the description box below. All right, for the next card, I'm using the piece that I stenciled, and there's that label set, and on that label, so those labels are designed to go in the center of the large snowflake to kind of cover up those things that are mechanism type pieces. And I also felt that label was perfectly shaped to add a wax seal to. So I have some red and pink wax, and I'm adding that to my little burner, and I'm using the wax seal of the month press. It's a stamp, yeah, and it says Joy. This one is sold out, but Spellbinders has plenty of wax seals, and a lot of them for Christmas that you could add to your cards like I'm doing here. Wax seals don't have to just be for your envelope. They're so much fun to make. I'm kind of addicted to it since I started playing with it, and I think they're so much fun. You just like lay that pressed that stamp into the wax, and it sits for like 15 seconds, and you've got your wax seal. Oh my word, I love it. And I really love mixing the waxes together. So much fun. So this whole kit is from Spellbinders. Now I wanted a little white on top. They do have metallic pens that you can turn the center gold or silver, and they just have the right kind of brush to really add that color on there, but I wanted mine white. So I used some white craft ink, and I was like, let's see how it goes. But it's wax. So you'll see how I fix it here at the end. I added that to my little label, and then that's going to go right in the center of this gorgeous mica spray stained snowflake. And then I added another little accent. So here is where you can die cut the two pieces together, the snowflake and the circle. I'm actually going to only end up using the snowflakes. I die cut 3 of them from pink glitter paper, but I really like cutting that out with the circle because it gives me like another piece I can throw in with my die set and use another time, which I will. I'm going to use the red one later. Next, I'm adding some flat confetti. These have just a little bit of a crimped edge, but otherwise they're pretty flat, and this is moonstone. Anyways, it has this really pretty iridescent finish that has kind of a pink undertone to it. So it's perfect for this card. Next, I pulled out my red and white baker's twine. I have a giant roll because I love it. It's the cutest thing. And I'm going to stick that down to my card. So I take a little glue dot and I roll it up like a little burrito. And that is the perfect thing to stick this bow down to. And look at that card front. It is so fun. So my 6x6 card base this time is red, and I did trim this panel down so that it is smaller and can have a red border all the way around. So it's 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that finishes up card number 2, kind of, because I noticed that the white ink was still wet on the center of that wax seal. So I brought out my it's Dr. P.H. Martin's No Bleed White, and it's a very thick paint. You can see I can touch it and just grab a little, and I decided I would rub that on, and that actually does dry and not come off on your hand later. So that was the perfect thing to just add a little touch to the center of that. Okay, let's move on to card number 3, which I am using the stencils for, and I thought that this card was going to be the card that had my pop-up in it, but I really had another idea for a 4th card. So this one is where I thought the video was going to end, but it doesn't. So let's go ahead and play with this stencil set. I am using Spun Sugar Distress Oxide ink for my first ornament, the larger one, and I just positioned that onto my card front, which is a 5 3/4 inch square, and then I have paper all the way around to kind of mask off all those other bits of the stencil, and then I can add the top layer. So I decided to do my Distress Mica Spray Stain as that snowflake layer because I love that shimmer, and I love using sprays with stencils. It's so quick and easy. I love the soft look that it gives, and so that's what I'm going to do. So on top of the pink ink, I am doing the peppermint stick, and so I'll just spray that, and it transfers on there so good. I feel like this could have had a little bit more mica in it, like maybe I didn't shake it up really good. It is not super shiny, but I love in this stencil how the snowflakes look like they're kind of wrapping around that circle. It almost gives it a 3-dimensional look once you add those snowflakes over the top. So I'm masking that off, and for the second smaller ornament, I wanted it to be higher because I figured when you're hanging ornaments, the larger ones would be heavier so they'd hang lower. That's my theory. Yeah, you can see I added a mask over the top of the first ornament, and that comes with the stencil set, so that's super helpful. All right, I'm doing pink, the winter berry, over the top of that red ink, which by the way was lumberjack plaid, and it sprays on there and shows up beautifully. I love that I can layer lighter colors on top of darker ones with the distress products. So very cool. So now let's remove the mask. You can see what those look like. They're so fun, but there's more to these. So you got to let the layers dry, especially if you're using sprays and pastes. But there is an ornament hanger. So I brought out my Nuvo Glacier paste in silver, and I am adding that as my topper because this, once it dries, it is so shiny and it looks like the real deal. I love it. So let's take a look at that. I did both. They're now dry, super shiny, and goes with the shine of the mica spray. So next I'm adding the bow. I need to add a mask to my smaller ornament because I chose to put it up high. If you put it down lower than the first one, then it won't matter about the mask. I'm also bringing out my iCrafter mini blending brushes, which I got from the Trinity Stamps shop, and they are perfect for these smaller areas and give you a little bit more control so you don't get other parts of the stencil that you don't want to be stenciled. So that's why I don't have a lot of extra paper when I'm stenciling this time. And then I'm using Lucky Clover ink, and I'm only using one color of ink, but the first section that I stenciled, I went in with like a heavy hand, really laid down like a thick layer of ink, but for the second part, I am just using a light hand, and that really helps give me that 2-dimensional look, and or really 3-dimensional. Look at that bow. It's amazing. And you can see why I needed the mask for the smaller, because that end of the bow is going to go behind that ornament. I guess it could go on top, but I didn't want a stencil on top and have it turn kind of a brownish color and be over the mica spray stain. No. All right, so now let's do the other side. The smaller ornament has a little bit different bow, but still on the first layer, I'm going in with a heavy hand, putting down a lot of ink, and on the second part of the bow, less ink. I actually was using my little brush with no ink to start with, and then if I needed a little bit more, I would just touch it to the pad instead of rub it on the pad, and that really helped me get that lighter color. Both of these have a center that you want to put in the center of that hanger, and I did darker ink on that. There is a straight line that is like kind of like your string or that metal piece. I also did that with that spread. I call them spreads. And there it is, all dry. So I really wanted to have some ink blending around the outside, and I've been using these blending style brushes, the Blending Buddies from Trinity Stamps, for large ink coverage area. I love them, but the distress ink does tend to stay in it. So if you're going to have one brush for your greens, just know it, you know, some of that lighter color green might come out, and it actually worked to my favor. I really like it. It was like a kind of an ombre look, that I didn't know that I wanted, and it just worked out. It's so cool. So I did that all the way around the ornaments. Then I did some spray because I love splatter and I like a lot of splatter. So I did a lot. And then I'm going to come in with this sparkle silk that's also from Spellbinders and add some sparkly gorgeousness around the edge as well. And I'm loving how this turned out. So I let that dry, and then it was time to bring in a stamp set and add a sentiment. So this is from last year, the Simon Hurley set that Spellbinders released in their shop because they now make coordinating dies. So I'll link all this for you below. You can check it out. I'm going to stamp Deck the Halls with Rustic Wilderness Distress ink, and that's a little bit darker green. So I've got the 3 different shades of green going on. It's really making those pink and red ornaments pop. So I stamped that a few times just to really intensify the color. It's going to dry back just a tiny bit, but I loved that darker green and decided I'm going to add that all the way around the edge of this card. And that dark edge is the kind of thing that helps draw the eye into the center, and it just gives it kind of that magical feel. So I did that and I loved it, and I had all this ink left over on my mat. I didn't want to waste it, so I decided, well, let's add a little bit more splatter because I like water splatter, shiny splatter, and colored splatter. You got to have all the things, right? I do. So I did that with spraying it with water, and then I have this scraggly little paintbrush that I drag along the edge of a window sheet, and it gives me fine splatter that I just love. So check that out. It's like a completely flat card, but it has so much dimension to it because of that really cool stencil. So I'm going to add this to a 6x6 card base that is white. I tried a red one, I tried a green one. The white seemed to be the best thing for this card. And I wanted to keep it flat, so I brought in these perfectly flat sparkle, they're like glittery actually, confetti pieces, I guess I would call them. They're really pretty. They're called white, but they're kind of clear so you can see the green through them, but they have glitter. Oh, they're so good. They're also great for shakers. They're from Trinity. I will link them for you below because they have them in other colors too. All right, so that finishes up card number 3. I decided to do a 4th card, and this is going to be the pop-up card, and I'm obsessed with it because I had yet to use the hot foil plates, and I love them. They are gorgeous. I love hot foiling. I love snowflakes, so I was really excited about this collection overall and super happy that I got to play with it. So I am taking a piece of pink cardstock and hot foiling red foil to create a border along the bottom of this card, and then I'm going to actually repeat that on the top half of the card and leave the middle open. Originally, I thought I was going to hot foil the whole background, but then I really liked the idea of just having a border at the top and a border at the bottom and leaving the center open for a sentiment, which is the Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the same exact hot foil set. And there's a die to die cut that out. It's just a rectangle, but it fits the sentiment perfectly, so that's so handy. I had to scrap a foil left over. It wasn't quite long enough for the entire plate, but it's okay, it worked out. While that was warming up, I decided to cut the large snowflake again from some white glitter paper. We'll get back to that snowflake in just a minute, but these are already hot foiled, and I use the coordinating die to die cut them out, and they're going to accent my card perfectly. So here's that white glitter snowflake. I'm spraying it with the Winterberry mica spray stain to make a pink glittered snowflake that matches my card perfectly, and I think I'm obsessed with now spraying my white glitter paper. This white glitter paper is from Arteza. I'll link it for you below. It is a 12 by 12 pad. It has black and white. I love it because it is like actually white. There's no iridescent shine to it, so you can do a lot of things with it because of that and use it in a lot more ways. So I'm going to glue that beautiful snowflake now that it's dry to the center of this card. You see it's going to overlap the top and the bottom, which, by the way, did you see I bordered those top and bottom sections of snowflakes with red glitter paper, just some 1/4 of an inch strips. I use that label set again, you can see, to cover up that snowflake detail that is there so you can make a pop-up, and then added my sentiment. I'm going to add 2 of those hot foiled snowflakes, which are red foil on white paper, to the ends just to fill in that space and kind of act as an embellishment. I think they're so pretty. I love that I can have die cut out glimmer hot foiled snowflakes. Okay, for the pop-up, there are written directions that you can print out from the Spellbinders site where you would go to order this die set. And it's going to give you directions with pictures on how to put this all together and create a pop-up. And I will say the first time was a little bit challenging. Hopefully my video will help you, although I am recording the first time I ever did it. But I always feel like after the first time you do it, it gets a little bit easier. So don't give up, don't get stressed out. There is no stress in stamping, right? Let's just have fun and play with paper. All right, so I'm putting the two pieces together that will create the middle pop-up, and I wanted to make sure I hooked them so that the mechanism pieces, those little tails, are on the back side of my sprayed snowflakes. So there they are, but there's little tiny tabs on the front that you need to tuck in to these tiny little holes, and I found it very helpful to have like a paper piecing tool to do that because they are tiny and I have like large and in charge fingers. I call them sausages, but I don't want to be mean to myself. It's just how it is. So there are my little tabs. Those you want to fold in and glue down, just like that. So they're tiny, but you know, you can do it. Just a dot of glue and you fold it down. You're going to fold it towards the outside of the snowflake. And there you have it. So now the tabs that are left, you kind of want to fold those out. They're going to insert into that largest snowflake, which I already folded in half. There's slits for it. And then if you look really close at those tabs, there's like a notch. That's where you're going to fold those tabs down, fold them out, and glue those down as well. So we're just repeating what we already did on that smaller snowflake. A dot of glue. There we go. Hold that down. And do the other side. And again, that notch is going to show you exactly where to fold that. And then we have our two layers. The third layer is completely up to you. It can be that snowflake that you see I have in the upper corner, or it can be the sentiment that says greetings. And this is the piece that you're going to use to attach that third layer. So it's got your two little tabs and you're going to fold it in half. It's nice to fold those tabs before you insert them, even though you need to lay it flat again to add your piece, so that you can later easily fold them and glue them down once they're inserted. So you're going to do the mechanism so the tabs are facing the left and the fold is on the right. And then you're going to insert that once you've added whichever piece you want, the greetings or the snowflake, to that second tier, that smaller snowflake. There's little slits. You'll see them, you just insert it, and then you're going to fold those towards the outside and glue them in place and really hold it down. So there you have your three layers. Oh, I had to re-glue because that one's glitter paper. I had to re-glue it down, but that's okay. It works. Then there's this like weird kind of, it looks like a little thing you'd find on a map, but that is the piece that creates the holes you need to insert this pop-up mechanism. You can see it's labeled with AB, and the die itself has a little line through it that you put on the score line. So that's perfect. Then you need this piece right here, which is the part that attaches the snowflake to the card. You're going to fold it like the letter M, and then you're going to fold up those angled pieces. And then you've got the tabs you're going to insert that are labeled A and B. You're going to insert those into your card and glue them. So it's a little fussy, I'm going to say, because you've got to put 4 tabs in and kind of hold it. You know what I mean? Hold them on the back. I did at one point use some low-tack tape for one side while I did the other side, and that was helpful. Then when you glue these down, don't do it like I did. You want to like glue everything away from the fold. Here I glued one up and one down. It doesn't really matter because you're going to cover this. I'm inserting this directly into my card. I did see my friend Lauren Taylor. She has a great video with this die set. I watched hers to help me because I learn better on a video than I do with this paper. And she has a really great video on doing a pop-up with this as well. And all the tabs you want to fold away from the crease line, whether it's on the snowflake or on this insert piece. So fold away from the crease line. And if you want to check out Lauren's video, her channel is Lauren Taylor Made. So go check her out. She's fabulous. Okay, so that is done. There's my pop-up. It's ready to go. It's gorgeous. And my card is top folding, so I had to really make sure I checked out which way I wanted that snowflake to go and how it would look once we open this card. And then I just glued one side down, pressed that down really well, and then added the second part. Now, when you do a card like this, you don't want to put it like smashed into the crease of the card. You really want to be careful with that. That's why I glue down one side and then the other. And there's almost like this tiny little hair of a gap right in the fold. So there you go, there it is. And then I'm gluing down my card front, which is actually 5.5 by 5.5. And so I've got a bigger red border around the edge, which I kind of liked because my glitter strips are 1/4 of an inch. So I've got a 1/4 of an inch border all the way around. I had plenty more of those hot foiled snowflakes. So I'm adding those to the inside of this card because there's lots of room in there. Plenty of room to write on a 6x6 card or add a gift card or even just add like a little newsletter, like some people like to write about their year. You can fit one of those in here too. And probably just fold your paper in half and then in half again if you do a typed up newsletter and put it in there. Yeah. All right. So there is card number 4, which, if we're being honest, is probably my favorite. It has a pop-up on the inside, but I love all the shine of the mica spray. I had so much fun playing with that and making these cards. Like I said, I love all things snowflake, so this was super fun. And if you can't tell, I do love pink and red for Christmas. I have already made pink and red cards this year. If you watch my channel, you know that. You've seen them. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope you learned something and just enjoyed yourself today and maybe a little bit inspired to go and create as well. So that is it for me. If you would like to see more videos, I'll have a couple at the end of this video you can click on to watch next. I have all the things I used linked for you in the description box below, so you can check those out. And I will see you all again very soon on the next video. Happy stamping! Bye!